millions of zebra mussels blanketing the bottom of this lake, even to the point where finding certain litter pieces has been difficult. But I'll tell you, we have gone over certain pieces of trash and could not recognize them because there was so many mussels down there, just blanketing the floor.
I can tell which one it is.
See, that is like dark green right there. It almost looked like it was like in a small little gumball shape.
Is that Eurasian water milfoil next to it?
Dude, look at that.
Yeah. That is.
Yeah. And then check this out.
Who's that?
Oh, it's just some sort of snail, actually.
Oh, is that snail? So there's some concern from us, of course, where I'm not going to ask volunteers to get in the water unless we know that water is safe. And finding out about this blue-green algae only 4 days before we arrived was a concern, and I think some of our partners were concerned that we weren't going to get in the water. But we actually invested in different remote operated vehicles in order to survey this lake and find out what we could see underneath the surface if we couldn't send divers in. But on day one, Perry Bunting from the band of Ojibwe, the local Native American tribe here, actually took some water samples that he took a week before we arrived to the University of Minnesota in Duluth, and they analyzed it with a limnologist, or a freshwater lake scientist, who checked toxins, found none in 2 different samples, and where there was cyanobacteria, he was able to confirm that it was at extremely low levels that was not concerning. So that meant the pool was open and we got to dive this week.
Well, I've been a Mille Lacs guy for 40 years, and I live on the lake and I fish the lake winter and summer, and I'm very interested in seeing what the garbage content is, and if we have a problem, get it cleaned up.
Minnesota is definitely a very different environment than Tahoe or Mammoth, especially where we are now. We're not really at an alpine lake, and the recreation is definitely different, you know, being from the Midwest. And then coming up to Tahoe, it's very different activities that are happening, and just kind of like different scene in lakes around here, you know, just different culture and everything. So I think it'll be really interesting to see kind of what kind of trash is coming out of the lake. You know, I know that this town is known for ice fishing, which is not really a recreational activity that happens up in Tahoe. And yeah, just different cultures, I think will, you know, from the Midwest and up in Tahoe and things will be interesting, and what kind of things come out of the lake, and also just excited to see kind of how the community gets involved here compared to Mammoth and Tahoe.
Success. Got it. We got it.
Ultimately, what our approach has been is to use GPS coordinates of hot spot locations for ice fishing on Mille Lacs. So we found all the go-to areas for ice fishermen where they put up their houses, they hang out, sometimes they're there fishing 24/7, sleeping in these ice houses, drinking, eating, everything there. And so there's even been bills that have been passed and laws that have been made about how you have to manage your waste on this lake. So the idea and the ideology of us being here is that there should be a lot of litter underneath the surface. But what we're finding is it's looking a lot cleaner than we thought. We've gone to Isle Bay yesterday, and we actually swam and surveyed most of this entire trench area that went down to 34 feet where ice houses were on either side. So it had the sloping area there, just like near shore areas in the Sierra, but we didn't see anything.
Finding the litter, especially between different rocks and boulders, has been a little bit difficult. And these mussels give it just this almost hazy look to the bottom where you can't really see in between them because they're just piled a couple inches high on top of each other. A couple other heavy lift objects that we found, cinder blocks, a rotor on a tire, things like that. We've, you know, kind of scraped the mussels off of underneath, identified it as litter, and then dealt with getting it up to the surface. But it's been kind of interesting swimming around in that, and as the water pushes us around and stuff, We're clearly bumping into these things, and it's been kind of a project trying to find that perfect balance of rocky, sandy bottom that's not completely covered in these mussels.
I've only been to the lake cleanups in Tahoe, so it was really cool to get to experience the dive cleanups here in a totally different location, get to meet some of the people who are working here with Keep It Clean and some other folks. We definitely didn't find as much litter as we expected, and just interesting to hear some of the theories behind that and learn how the ice fishing played into all of that, which is not something that happens up in Tahoe. So I'm curious to come back in the spring to see everything happening up here and how it's been different to cleanups in Tahoe.
We've been working hard to address the problem of garbage and waste being left on the ice during ice fishing season, and to support local business owners' efforts to encourage people to leave no trace when they're out on the ice. And we're interested in knowing what happens to the garbage when it goes into the lake. Is it sinking and getting covered up? Is it getting stuck in different locations? If so, where? Or is most of it washing up on shore? And the information we gather will help us direct future cleanup efforts.
While there is litter that is likely going into the lake from ice houses and fishing going on and all the recreational activity on the second largest lake in Minnesota, we think that these wind patterns in such a shallow lake are actually pushing that litter, and instead of getting caught up on a steep drop-off or in big granite boulders like we see in Tahoe and other alpine lakes, there's nothing to stop that litter and collect it beneath the surface. It's finding its way all the way up to the shoreline. And that's why a lot of the people that brought us out here have been finding those wooden blocks and loads of different types of litter across the beaches of Mille Lacs. One of the second takeaways for us was that this lake is sitting almost 2 hours north of Minneapolis. There isn't a big population or a big city nearby. And at that point, we also don't see an extremely high number of visitors to this region. Another big important factor is I think the individuals, the locals here, have been doing a great job at protecting the lake in their own backyard. And I think every single individual and person out there has the ability to make a difference with their efforts. And so if you're good about using reusable coffee cups and reusable water bottles, and you pick up after yourself and others, that does make a difference, and it has done so for Mille Lacs. So please keep it up and help us keep it clean and clean up the lake whenever you get a chance to protect this beautiful, stunning area of the Midwest, as I've been very fortunate to be able to do here over the last 2 weeks.